Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Credential Chats. And really excited to be joined by somebody who, just an awesome friend and mentor, Cate Tolnai. She is Director of Micro-Credentials and Innovation Credential Strategy at University of Phoenix. Cate, thank you so much for joining Credential Chats.
Thanks for having me, Noah.
Yeah, I mean, is it Cate, for anybody who has not yet had the pleasure of meeting her, comes from an instructional background in K-12, from association involvement in the ed tech space, published author in game-based learning, has worked in the two-year space in higher ed, as well as now at University of Phoenix. And, just you have this really cool job title. Maybe just before we dive into just the weeds of what you do, maybe just kind of describe what is
Yeah.
a director of micro-credentials and innovation credential strategy?
Besides being my dream job, it is it sits in this really interesting space of translation because I am spending a ton of time almost serving as like an internal contractor and interpreter because I'm working directly with our college deans on the instructional piece, but I'm very dialed into all of our career services. I'm dialed into all of our, obviously the registrar, the enrollment teams, academic counselors, all the academic support services. And what we're doing is we're trying to help our learners, the Phoenix student, career early and often, right? Like how can we recognize the skills that you currently have or the skills that you're going to be getting, and how can we streamline and support each student on their journey so that they can unlock what they want to do and really just succeed in life. And so it's a great opportunity. So it's full strategy because we're, very cross-functional working across all these places, but it's all tethered to, in the service of students and learners.
And I love, Kate, how you use career as a verb.
Mm,
That that they are careering early and often. And you mentioned registrars. I'm sure a lot of people watching this will know. Mark Booker,
yeah.
Doris Savron from presentations at AACRAO over the years. But it sounds like you when you talk about careering and you mention registrars, that the work you're leading actually operationalizes learning records
Yeah.
as a springboard towards this careering effort.
Totally. And when I say translation, not only is it, translating experiences for these students, but it's also like harnessing the right vocabulary and keywords and language so that what we're doing, like as I'm working with our internal academics team and we're honoring like their instructional goals, I also need to be thinking about we all need to be thinking about how are we going to take that academic language and really like harness the employer side of all of it so that we can empower our employer partners and our industry partners to go, oh, I see the job description in the skills list that's been articulated, or I see my company, I see opportunities like very prevalent within the language we use at Phoenix, and that a Phoenix student who's going out for a job interview is going to be able to articulate in ways that makes good sense to the employer too.
Yeah, and I just think that there's so much opportunity there with what you just described. I was just at my 25th college reunion, got to meet up with my favorite professor, this professor of English, and
Whoa, that's
these
cool.
classes on my transcript are completely made up names that are made to market to students, just that mean nothing to a employer. And without
No.
any threat to Dr. Ferrara, we, have the ability with things like what you're leading at Phoenix to surface. Okay, we have this amazing title that attracted me as a student to the course,
Yeah.
and here's the things that I got out of
Yeah.
that course.
Yes, yes. And here's what's been really interesting. So we are tripling down on AI in our instructional. I mean, every course has AI infused into it, and we're getting to a place strategically where we want to elevate that alignment to our framework that we've adopted, the DEC framework. And so credentials are micro credentials are this really serving this really interesting purpose because we're able to say like on the transcript, here's the course you're taking, but oh my gosh, in a micro credential, here's the AI enhancement that we've added that we're going to be able to not only align to an academic skill, but to an AI skill. And then we're going to be able to create this super responsive, high keyword value credential with a description and all that metadata that's going to actually help employers go, oh, I see the AI enhancement. And you're totally right because the transcripts are written for an academic audience. So the way that credentials allows us to flex and respond is really exciting, especially with the AI skills that we're investing in.
And Kate, can I ask you, when you talk about these skills that we're surfacing from the course, I mean, I just think for several years now, a lot of the work that, you've been leading, even that was, started before your hire at Phoenix is
Yeah.
in a lot of ways just years ahead of the rest of us. And so maybe you can catch us up just a little bit of,
Yeah.
within a given course, what does it look like concretely to notice, name, and credential these specific granular level skills within a given course.
Yeah. It really starts with the skills, the taxonomy that we designed about 5 years ago, and long before my time. And from what I hear from the from the team members that are here, it was an effort to back every single credit at Phoenix to a skill. But the fact that we've done that and successfully maintained that since for about 5 years has allowed us to now iterate and flex in that space of micro credentials, which are obviously we want to back to the skills. So we were talking before we got on the call about like the rule of one. I call it the rule of one at Phoenix, which is for every course student learning outcome, it's tethered and measured to a summative assessment, which is going to be performance based. And so you're going to have a student be able to articulate that skill in action because the summative assessment is back to that skill. We are measuring that skill. And as we bring AI skills in, we are also measuring AI skills in there. And then that will then equate to 1 credit of learning. And so, quite literally, every 3-unit course is going to have 3 skill statements. And we're going to be able to measure that through the assessment and articulate it with this dynamic employer friendly language.
And would it be fair, Kate, to assume then that we are 100% not replacing the transcript, we are complementing
No.
the transcript, and
Oh,
that
yeah.
with those skill statements, it allows us to move to a place that it doesn't change grades. In regards to what the
No.
grade you get in the course, this is saying if it's a 3 credit course, here's 3 skills-based learning
Yeah.
outcomes
Yep.
that you have hit
Yep.
that start to narrate and tell the story of what you learned in that course.
Yeah. And I will say this, in addition to like when we're talking about the criteria to earn a micro credential at Phoenix, we're moving to get to this cohesion around 3 summative assessments measuring those 3 skills and then an overall threshold of just passing the class with a specific grade. So that there is, like, to your point, like there we are still honoring the entire learning experience. We're not just saying 3 assessments, boom, you're good. We're saying 3 assessments to articulate skills and consistent success across the course because no, we are 100% still aligned to that transcript. And honestly, it's the micro credentials allow us to be so flexible and responsive to what's going on in the world in ways that, like, we all know it does it you don't get to touch every course every year, right? We it takes time to revise course content. It takes time to, especially if we're doing like major revisions, it just takes time. And so we can spin up a micro credential. We can track the health of that micro credential. We can speak to our industry advisory councils and say, hey, did that hit the mark? Is that helping you? We can interview our students and say, is this empowering you? And we can talk to our enrollment teams and say, are you able to talk about this and use this as a lever to bring more people in? And if not, you can iterate, and so it's this really kind of beautiful, flexible addition to what we're already accomplishing with our transcripts.
And that's just such a cool notion of not just did you like this course, but do you feel empowered
Mm.
by the credentials that you earned during this course, and that the credential is about this assessment of what the credential is credentialing, that
Yeah.
is as important as something like participation in a discussion thread might be towards passing a course.
Hmm.
unless the credential is around discussion thread participation, the credential is independent of that, it is based exclusively on an assessment of that skill or competency.
Exactly. Exactly. And I'll
And
I'll
then,
just share as an example, like we are in the process of reimagining our credentials linked to our full MBA program. And so we've spent a lot of time talking to, again, cross-functional conversations, and making sure that we are, clearly explaining how it's not about badging or credentialing every step of the MBA journey. It's about being really mindful about what's going to differentiate our student in the course of their MBA program to then help get that job, and thinking about the AACRAO audience, like, how are we capturing the power of that in a way that our teams can speak like authentically and organically to that empowerment, as they're bringing
hmm,
students in and as they're coaching students through, you know, joining the Phoenix community and sticking with it.
yeah, I mean, we can talk to any of our colleagues in career services, and if we ask them what is the number one challenge, I think a lot of them are going to tell us our learners don't know how to talk about the awesomeness within themselves, and based on their learning journeys. And yeah, I think that you hit on that we're equipping them with that narrative.
Hmm.
And going to these specific level skills
Yeah.
credentials, and how a you know learners then careering, what does that look like? And does this stuff feed into information that advisors are using? Does this feed
Yeah.
into learners being, almost like Amazon, like recommended if you like, based off of certain skills that you've acquired? What
Yeah.
does it look like to operationalize these skills in
Yeah.
a careering sort of mindset?
It's such an exciting area of what we offer that even I am still like learning more and more about, because our career services side of house is has a very robust charge, and they are excelling at an incredible pace. So I'll just share with you, the basic flow. Every student has an opportunity to activate their skills profile, which will then kind of sync with the skills that they have learned through our learning management system. It syncs over to our career side. And then from there, we have a very rich bank of industry partners that that the career services team works with to actually partner with, and we have these skill services. So it goes from so skills profile into career. Like we have Skillmore is one program we offer, which is actually it's a way to work directly with the employers who are partnering with us. But we have the Career Navigator for students that kind of like what you're saying. Like it says, hey, here are the skills you have. Here are opportunities we have access to in our skills, in our talent marketplace. And here's what you need to do to like be very ready to get this opportunity. And so not only do we have um, counselors that are supporting, but we actually have like the technology programming to coach along the way and go, hey, you are out of the 27 skills needed for this job opportunity that's been listed through the work that we've done with our this database, basically you're at 20. So in order to get these seven more, here's a couple more classes you might want to take that are going to actually help you get those skills and then be like ready to unlock that opportunity. So it's again really empowering, and like I said, it's so dynamic. I think I've spent the first stint of time here, about 6 months at Phoenix, really focusing on the academic side. And Mark Booker and I have talked at length about, next level up for us is going to be connecting those dots over with the career services side, because we're ready. We're ready in ways that we, had talked about, but the work needed to kind of have an owner, which is where I came in, somebody who's just going to kind of live and breathe micro credentials. And now that we're there, we're like, all right, let's start unlocking next steps for the students.
And that's just so cool. And we've had folks on Credential Chats talk about their CLRs and different LER approaches. And
Hmm.
I think this is our first scratch at the surface of what does that look like when you have specific systems intended to talk to each other.
Yeah.
That there's multiple kind of technology systems that are part of the LER.
Yeah.
Not that operationalize it in different ways, like you said, that you have 20 punches on the punch card on the way to 27. If you still want to go that way, you also have 17 on the way to this one,
Exactly.
in ways that help an advisor that has 3, 4, 5x the caseload of what Nakata might be recommending,
Yeah.
to all of a sudden that they're empowered. Not just the learners are empowered, but advisors might be empowered with
Totally.
better data to be more effective, more efficient in supporting learners.
Yeah.
And this is just such inspiring stuff. And Cate, I wanted to also ask you about the innovative stuff with prior learning credit that you guys have going
Yeah.
on. And we are running out of time. We have had repeat guests on Credential Chats. We've never ended a Credential Chat like with pre-slotting a repeat guest, but we are this is going to be a first. We are pre-slotting you to be a repeat guest because we
That's
definitely need to get
awesome.
into the prior learning
Yeah.
credit approaches there and how that is really in sophisticated ways playing into enrollment management.
Totally.
But I think for today, just
That's a wrap.
thank you. That we're gonna have to stop there. But folks, she is Cate Tolnai, and just in addition to being a really cool person, one of the coolest job titles out there
Yeah.
of
A good one.
Director of Micro-Credentials and Innovation Credential Strategy at University of Phoenix. Cate, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Noah.
And thank you, everybody, for sharing the valuable currency of your time and engagement with us here on AACRAO's Credential Chats. Until next time, have a badge-worthy week. So long.